Alright, so we have 14.2 patch notes. Patch notes preview. Ranked, we're making some changes to reduce how lenient tier boundary the motions are. While we think making a tier boundary is a big milestone, we also need to be demoting people more honestly to ensure the rank system functions properly. We're also continuing to investigate some players with negative LP gains. The vast majority of these are coming from the above, where people are not being demoted properly, so the visible ranks is higher than their current level of play. We're also chasing down a few cases of some Diamond 1 Master players having some negative LP gains for a short amount of time, but there only seem to be affecting a small number of accounts in large regions. Okay. Overall, after reviewing all the patch data, game time is stable and higher than 13.24, mainly due to increasing the backdoor damage reduction and buffing towers. Okay, so I have a theory in this, okay? The reason why games do not end early in League of Legends is because there's a lot of systems in place that make players need to go to a certain point in mid to late game in order to end the game. So what are those systems? First of all, Juggernauts are severely nerfed and Soul is the rewarding point. Second of all, lower death timers, okay? Third of all, towers not falling as fast with the new Herald. Also, one less Herald in the game. There's a lot of things that make champions go to mid to late game and then they end the game. Okay. Snowballing is lower than 13.24, however burst is up, especially from AP. Well, no shock here because they add the Storm Surge into the game. And then champions that either have very low mana costs or have no mana costs at all are all abusing Storm Surge, right? Which is a bit counterintuitive. We suspect people are getting burst pretty quickly. It's easy to build leads but harder to end and easier to throw. We're looking at moderate burst reductions as a result. Objectives have landed in a mostly decent spot. Chain ganking bot versus fighting versus grab seem to be carrying real trade-offs that teams are engaging in. Reef Herald usability is the main thing on our mind, or something worth following up here. I actually mentioned that Reef Herald needs to be changed. I've seen too many cases where the people who go to Reef Herald and they start charging, they either charge too long, they travel too much distance on the map, or like the charge, like usually, like sometimes they don't even charge into the tower. I kind of feel like this needs to be fixed a little bit. AP. Our strategy with AP items was to increase the overall AP values that players are getting. It was unsatisfying to be 100 AP at 3 items. That was such a big meme, because every time I watch pro play games, people were just basically playing utility. They played like Ari and Nico, and they were just utility bots. Oh, oops. And reduce base damage on AP champs that have problematic tank builds. And reduce ratios on everyone else over time on AP champions to compensate for this, especially on the outliers. This will lead to some short-term instability, but long-term it will be better for the AP system and champions overall. Players had also been asking for reduction in haste, game is to earth, and HP. I don't want this stat on AP items, which also contributes to increasing burst as the champions are both dealing and receiving more damage. Our goal once the system is tuned is to end with both less burst and less ability haste coming from the item system. I agree, these are good changes. However, I also think right now in League of Legends there's too little haste in the game, while HP being removed is just a good thing. So I'm kinda hoping Riot adds a tiny bit of haste back into the game. Stat charts. I'm sure Riot Freak will have some notes on the rundown, as this is one of the passion projects he's been trying to do for months. But season start is the only reasonable time to do it. The main goal of this change is to make our choices more satisfying and intuitive. Okay, so I have reviewed stat charts a lot on the PB and stuff. First of all, I don't think it's going to make choices any more satisfying than they are right now. I also think that in a week or two after stat charts are being out, people are going to take same stat charts on every champion. Or like on every lane. So while short term these are good changes maybe to like, you know, give people some other choices, I ultimately think runes are going to end up the same way as they are right now, which is people are just gonna take mostly the same runes all the time. While we're losing some interest in choosing armor MR against opponents, we hope to gain some intuitive choices like early versus scaling move speed, tenacity versus durability. These changes were also intended to combat some of the increased burst in the game. Okay, I don't know what Riot is talking about here. By removing armor and MR shards from the game, you are increasing burst. So, I don't know what they're saying. They were also intended to go out in 14.1 to counteract some of the burst increases, but had small delay and were desynced as a patch. Okay, I need to drink some water. Items. Double support item and quadra support item are being nerfed. We're being pretty heavy-handed here. Thank you. Thank you, Riot. Now, first of all, you guys obviously fucked up big time because this shouldn't have been shipped into the game. You guys should have seen it coming, considering you have months and months and months before you ship this into the patch to know this is going to happen, right? So you guys did a big fuck up here. But this should also be hotfixed, right? So we should be complaining. IMO. Players should be complaining that Riot is not being fast enough on the trigger here. This should have been hotfixed. This should never came into pro play or high elo, because this is mostly a pro play high elo problem. And you guys majorly fucked up here. Even after the buff, Strikebreaker is struggling to find his place as his horizon focus when Storm Search is so much better. Well, I think Strikebreaker being buffed is fine, but I do think they need to be considerate to not overbuff the item, because when the item is too strong, it's so passive. As for horizon focus, item is obviously only gonna have a set users, okay, like artillery mages, so it's gonna have a set users of who likes the item. Now, the thing about Horizon Focus is that it's going to get much better when other AP items get balanced. So by nerfing Storm Surge, then other champions have more reasoning to buy Horizon Focus, and a lot of other stuff needs to also be rebalanced, okay? Storm Surge is receiving a substantial nerf, and we think it's the root cause of a lot of increased burst. And I agree with that, it is. However, I am also worried that even if you make Storm Surge a useless item, the champions will continuously itemize in a way where they're going to go way more to bursty. I do think that could be still a problem. Bloodsunk also appears to be the best of the support items. Yes, right now Bloodsunk and Dream Bubble, or whatever it's called, the one that like Melia and Nami abuse, are way too strong. For some reason, Riot is only nerfing one of them, which is problematic. Finally, Frozen Heart Reefmaker a bit too efficient. So I watch Freak rundown, right? He's nerfing Reefmaker by 100 gold, which I think is going to be fine. Frozen Heart needs to be really like heavily nerfed. Like 100 gold reduction, Frozen Heart still OP. It needs probably 300 gold, or 200 at least. So I have no idea what they were thinking, shipping this into the game. Everyone and their mom saw it coming, that Frozen Heart is going to be giga OP. If you just make it minus 400 gold and keep almost everything the same. Again, my opinion, Frozen Heart, a massive fuck up on the Riot balance team. I have no idea how this was shipped into the game. Buffs, almost all of the champions in the list had a core item that they had great synergy with, either removed or reworked, or in Grant's case, over nerfed. Everfrost, Thunderer, Triforce, Triforce, Ability Haste for Hooray, and Cards for Leandri. Okay, so this is like what champs were missing. Nerfs. Nerf in the list are for champions who have incredible synergies with the new items. Thunder, Jax, Leandri, Dot champions, Feast, Storm Surge. Okay. Thanks for playing the new season. Okay. So, quick reaction to all the nerfs and buffs. Okay. So first of all, Ahri. They're apparently they're putting 2 seconds on E. Okay. 2 seconds on E was Ahri in the past. When Ahri was super popular in Korea and Choi was playing it every game, she had the minus 2 seconds on E. Then when they nerfed Ahri, they put 2 seconds on E. Now they're giving her minus 2 seconds on E. That's what at least right now on PBE. I think the buff is fine. Ahri is a super strong ability. Is it going to make Ahri like good? Doubt it. I think she kind of suffers from being out-damaged by a lot of other champions. But maybe. Camille. Apparently it's going to be HP, passive buff, and something else. It was like Q move speed. Fine buffs, however, I think Camille is unsatisfying. And here's the reason why. Her W is a super long cooldown ability, and her E cannot be cast anymore because there's lack of walls on top lane. This makes her be played with only one spell for majority of laning phase until she gets to mid to late game, where she's very good. Okay, that is the problem with Camille. Darius. They're buffing Q mana cost, Q healing, and they're buffing E armor pen. These are good Darius buffs, and I have no issues. Ezreal. I really like this one. According to Freak, they're buffing Q damage, W damage by a lot, and only AD scales, and ult. Very good buffs, promotes good Ezreal players for hitting spells. Very good buffs. And Ezreal is already durable enough, which I agree with, so buffing damage here is the solution, and I really like how they're doing this. Garen. They're making W be flat 4 seconds, the shield on W, flat 4 seconds instead of scaling 2 to 5, which is a good change. And they're making AD ratio, I think, going up or something like that. So, fine Garen changes. He obviously like suffers a lot in the new season. Freak also mentions that he thinks Garen should be played with Conquer, not Phase Rush, which I also agree. So maybe in the future they're gonna balance this better. Gragas. Gragas is getting, what is he getting? I think armor and HP. Basically, the reasoning is he lost a lot of HP in jungle from Night Harvest and Shadow Flame being gone from the game or not giving HP. So they're bringing durability on Gragas up and R cooldown down, so he can like gank more often with R. Fine changes for Gragas, I think. Gwen, reverting half of passive AP ratio, which they did last patch. So I guess win rate indicates Gwen was nerfed too hard last patch. Now they're just walking that back halfway. Hui. Okay, I have to comment on this one a lot. Okay, so Hui changes according to PB are E cooldown being lower by 3 or 4 seconds rank 1 and 1 second last rank. So basically early to mid game, or like first 4 points on E are gonna be buffed a lot, but then the last point in E is only gonna be buffed by 1 second, okay? This obviously is going to buff Hui in lane more, and Hui in early mid game more. Hui in late game is not getting a lot of buffs here, which in my opinion is the bigger problem. My experience from playing Hui, he's already decent enough early game, but his mid and late game are the underwhelming parts. So I kinda don't like the change, however I'll take it. The buff is good because Hui, W and E have 2 long cooldowns of spells. And then the other buff that he's getting is EQ, so the fear. The EQ, the missile that you launch, the fear is getting apparently 1 to 1.5. And I think it's going to be OP. Right now it's 1 second flat, but they should have walked it to 1.25, which is in the middle. In my opinion, when you put a spell that has 1.5 second fear on an ability, it's too shunk. I think Hui is going to only want to do EQs, and it's kind of like comparable to Fiddlesticks. I don't think it's the right approach to Hui, but I think they're going to overbuff the ability. Illaoi, she's getting, I think, like mana and health and stuff. Fine, whatever. We all know Illaoi is nerfed because her tentacles can't reach the middle of lane anymore, so she lost like wave clear and stuff, and Hoodbreaker is gone from the game. Or like nerf for Illaoi. Karma, really interesting Karma buffs are coming. They're going to increase the AP ratio on E and Q, and apparently the Q AP ratio is 20%, which is huge, okay? So we might get mid lane Karma, we might get top lane Karma, or even ADC Karma back into the game with AP builds. And I'm not kidding, it might be OP. I'm definitely gonna try this one. Karthus, getting Q damage and W, magic pin strat, good changes. Karthus lost shit on a win rate because Lianji is basically gone from the game, and he lost mana as a stat early game as well. So yeah, okay, fine. Shen, 4 AD apparently is what he's getting. It's going to already buff his Shong early game, and not buff as much of his mid and late game. So Shane will continuously be kind of like an early game power champion, and mid to late he becomes kind of like a taunt and ult bot. Veigar, super disappointing. They're only buffing base HP. I don't know by how much, but they said only his base HP. It's fucking horrible. I don't know why they refuse to like... make the champion better. This is not good. Apparently it's 30 HP. It's a joke. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just a joke. Champ nerfs. Blitzcrank gonna get nerfed in early game. I think less durable and E less damage, because basically in low elo Blitzcrank is god tier. Okay, Fizz. Losing damage on W and E. Fine changes. I think Fizz... I generally am a believer of Fizz not being very healthy for the game. He's obviously very oppressive when he stomps Snoops in solo queue. And he doesn't have much counterplay as a champion. I think Fizz just doesn't have a lot of counterplay when you play against him. And right now, Stopwatch being from the game is also a Fizz buff. Zhonya is harder to access. Zhonya was hard counter to Fizz. So I think long term, I do think it's good when Fizz is bad. Jax, kind of like LeBlanc by the way. Jax, they're nerfing Jax because they're also constantly buffing him because he's gonna attack towers faster. Apparently E damage is what he's losing. I think the nerf is fine because it also nerfs his wave clear, which is kind of oppressive. And it hopefully nerfs what Jax does in pro play really well, which is slow push 3 waves and then go proxy the 4th wave and then have a tempo base. So hopefully that strat is nerfed by having less wave clear on E, which is less damage. Rumble. According to Freak, Q damage nerf and E damage nerf. Good changes, Rumble is overtuned. Nothing else to say. Timo, as I predicted in last preview on the micro patch, they probably didn't nerf Timo hard enough because they only nerfed 0.1 AP ratio on ult and Q. Not good enough nerfs. They're nerfing again. Timo jungle, super high win rate in silver. He had 56% win rate the last time I checked, like a few days ago in silver. It's too much. So needed recommended item adjustments update, whatever. System buffs, horizon focus. As I said, item is probably fine to buff, but I also anticipate that the item is gonna get better when they nerf other items. Steel sigil. Apparently, it's not cost efficient as an epic item, which I didn't know. So just getting like probably like 580 or minus 100 gold or whatever. Shridebreaker, okay, fine. Bloodsong, deserved. Frozen Heart, deserved. Thiefmaker, deserved, I think. Storm Surge, definitely deserved. System adjustments, the new runes coming in. I made a video earlier. You guys can find it on Daily Clips, Daily Nemesis Clips channel. And then support item, stacking, yeah, also good change. Overall, I think the patch is looking fine. However, here's my predictions for next patch, okay? Supports, and especially enchanters, will still be way too overtuned. Especially Milio and like all these supports that use the Dream Bubble support item. Second thing that I predict is I genuinely think lethality champions in mid and jungle are going to be way too overtuned next patch. Way too overtuned. I expect Kiana to have absurd win rate in solo queue. She already has, I think, 53.5 right now, as the last I checked. Next thing I predict is tanks are also still overtuned. They are right now, like stuff like Cassandra and maybe even other tanks on top lane. They have way too many good items. Frozen Heart being nerfed actually makes it so you are more incentivized to have one AP in the team now and play more AD champs in your team. And everything else is probably going to be very similar. I don't think much is going to change. On mid lane, we're going to slowly see burst champions, some burst champions being worse, and you know, some other champions coming in. Like for example, Azir is really benefiting from these changes because he's already very good, and now Storm Surge is getting nerfed, which is an item Azir doesn't use, so Azir becomes better. Maybe we have like Corki and stuff also in mid lane. Oh, other than that, we're probably just gonna see like Nico again. Maybe TF's gonna make a return. I don't know if Rad's buffing TF here with the AD TF changes, but I suspect TF's gonna be really good, like both AD and AP. That's the patch 14.2.